So we're back.
Had a little bit of technical difficulties thanks to the mastermind.
Yes. Sorry, everybody. We are completely new to this whole. Well, I'm completely new to this whole streaming thing. I don't know if this guy is. He's weird.
Where we left off, we were talking about the class set that is going to be given away at the end of this, which in this case is the Monk class set. Went over the dice tower that you're going to be getting. I don't know if I was cut off before or after the coaster, but you will get a coaster as well. And then lastly, with the class set, you're going to be getting a token holder. Got a bunch of little ridges on the inside here to hold your tokens, status tokens, whatever kind of tokens you may have. This can hold it and will. So that's going to be the whole set that you're going to be getting at the end of all of this. Hence the class set. $65 value. Both free. Stick around.
Yeah, for sure. And I will be asking a random question again of why we're doing this. So again, this is we're calling it our Wednesday side quest, and so it's kind of like just a video series and stuff like that of kind of RPG tabletop. That's not necessarily D&D related, but gaming related for sure. Mostly RPG tabletop, things of that nature. And hopefully we maybe get into some more and more games and everything like that. Hey, James. Anyways, so there's that being said. So why might I be giving away a class set today, Armando?
Why might you, or why are you?
Specifically, yeah.
I don't know. You give away stuff for all kinds of reasons.
Yeah, but like specifically character items. What's our discussion topic today?
So the biggest reason why we're going to be giving away this class set, specifically Monk, is because we're going to be talking about creating a character for Dungeons & Dragons or any other tabletop role-playing game that you may want to play, maybe are playing, maybe interested in playing. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about on these bases, is kind of what it takes to create a character, what kind of goes into that, and all the little details to kind of fill it all in. So yeah, that's kind of what we're going to be going over today, and which is why the biggest reason why we're going to be giving away a class set.
Yes.
Because there are so many different classes and subclasses.
12 for that matter, just in D&D, and then there's probably what?
Oh,
Gosh,
God.
I mean,
so
50 to 75
if
subclasses.
not more than that. And that's on, and then, but on top of that, you have to consider, this is 5th edition, you still have Pathfinder, 2nd edition, 2.5, 3rd edition, 1st edition, which is all the way back to like the 60s, 50s, of when this all started. So there's a lot to go into this, and there are, to kind of start things off, there are some generic or basic classes that everybody can kind of go into. It's kind of a starting point, but at the same time, depending on who your DM is, or your dungeon master, game master, whatever you want to call them, whoever's running your game, you can kind of get into making pretty much anything as far as the class goes. It's all, you're limited.
Look at Zach's character.
Your imagination, correct. Yeah, Zach Barrow in Hobie's game, he is a Saiyan from Dragon Ball Z, of all things. And of course that fits him, because that's who Zach is. If you know Zach at all, that's kind of his thing, is Dragon Ball Z, Vegeta specifically. But
you can make a run on money off for Trunks though too.
This is true. Regardless though, that's kind of the thing that we're talking about, is we kind of took the basis of a couple of different classes and then customized it heavily to make it fit what Saiyan in the fantasy world would be.
Yeah, and so specifically, I don't want to go into rolling stats really. I don't want to go into the everything you can get from a book, because if you're gonna play a role-playing game, I could argue with you all day. He could argue with you all day, but you're gonna run the game how you want to run the game, right, wrong, or however you want to run it. That's the cool thing about most role-playing games, and as long as the system is decently well designed, the system can allow for just about anything, like a Saiyan character, or like a off of Critical Role. You had the Blood Hunter, you had Percy's character, which is the fighter art class gunslinger.
Oh yeah.
Which things like that, so the limits are not even real in some cases. And honestly, depending on your DM or GM, they're gonna let you do whatever's fun for you, and they should allow you to do everything fun. as long as it doesn't break the game or going with something that completely doesn't fit their game at all. Like I had Chris. Chris had a character that was, and I did not realize at the time he played a custom class. And I was like all for it, man. I'm like, hey, because he was kind of heavy tech, right? And Ranger kind of subclass kind of deal, and it was very technological. And I was like, okay, because I was thinking more steampunk, right? And
talking about that gunslinger that he was?
yeah, sort of, kind of, right? But
the machinist.
The machinist.
Yeah,
that's
I remember that.
And it just got to the point where I was like, whoa, man, let's bring it back in. Let's try to get you back into the world of fantasy and not sci-fi.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and everything like that. Which, I mean, it was still cool. We found a really cool way to integrate it in the story. But we talked about it, and he was thinking about doing something different and everything like that, and it really worked out. But so there's two main parts to making a character, I think, as you as a player gotta look at. That's stats or role playing.
Yeah. There's a lot of people out there who play these role playing games, fantasy games, tabletop games, who they're in it. A lot of them are in it for the fantasy aspect, or I guess in this case it would be, the role playing aspect, to where they are true to their character that they create or that they help create. So where they as a person have this kind of personality, but their character is completely, let's say, real showboaty, or not exactly what you would expect from that person, but these people love role-playing so much that that's how they perceive the character, and so as such, that's how they kind of give off the character in the game. And on the other side of the spectrum, there's also people who are in it for the numbers,
the rules lawyers, the number crunchers,
the number crunchers who, because of this, I'm going to be able to do this, and this, and you're not going to be able to stop me, or what have you. But it's always give and take, and of course you have the balance of people who kind of do a little bit of both, which is kind of where I'm at. I really like the numbers part of it because I like knowing that I'm going to be able to dish out all this huge amounts of damage, or be able to negate my DM's damage and kind of heal everybody up or whatever. But
yeah, because I mean, realistically, you're playing. I mean, we're all competitive. We are.
Oh yeah, everybody is.
And you're playing the DM realistically.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's you versus the DM.
Yeah. The only issue is the DM's got a much bigger team than you got. You have your team, and those are the assets, man. The DM's got a much larger playing field than you get, so it's almost a disadvantage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he can throw so much stuff at you.
And it can be so ridiculous too, because a lot of this number crunching and role playing and stuff, it doesn't just go into the players themselves. It also goes on the DM or the GM that goes into it. I thought, hey babe, as a DM, you have to be able to do both, at least somewhat well. I'm not going to say you have to be perfect at it. You absolutely do not. Because that's the point of a fantasy game. You have fun with it.
Yeah.
Friends together having fun. That's the thing. But the DM, you have to be able to. You have to be able to number crunch, because you're keeping up with so much information.
I don't know, man. So I'm pretty sure that I have screwed myself on HP just as much as I've probably screwed the players, like not taking off enough. Because it's
heard it here, folks. If you're in his game once a month on Sundays, right? Yeah. He's screwing you. You heard it. You heard it here first.
To be fair, I don't do it on purpose, but it's like the quick math that you're trying to what's 2377? Oh God.
How
carry the 3
how
7
to
divided
math.
12. And you're sitting there, and so you're like, okay, and you think I guarantee you I wrote I'm like 10 points probably at the most, but I try to do as fair as I can, but in the heat of the moment, I'm trying to push the game forward, because I'm all about role playing, because when you're playing a role playing game, if you're playing a role playing game and you don't want to role play, go play 40K or go play some other games that are heavily stat based or heavily HP, and that's all they are is numbers. You throw a bunch of dice on the table and you subtract a bunch of numbers and you're good to go. I've never played 40K, so I apologize. I would love to play, just not right now.
Too much going on at the moment. But so, anyways, back to the original point. That's kind of what we're talking about as far as creating a character and being able to role play, also being able to crunch some numbers. Albeit, if you're a beginner or starter, or you're just not getting into the genre, getting something pretty standard as far as the classes goes can always be a safe bet. But at the same time, just like Shelby in the chat is talking about how she would want to be Tinkerbell. That would be a very
is that what she meant?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Good Lord.
Come on now.
I didn't track it, man. I thought she was talking about the dice tower, the fairy dice tower.
Well, yeah.
That's where my mind went.
I mean, sure, and You
Sorry.
need to keep up. It's okay. That's why he has me. I'm his breaksticks, which is true.
Okay, so
Back to the point.
stats or role playing, you need to figure out. Number one, and it also goes down to what kind of game you're playing. Freaking James, you need to play 40K. I need to play D&D. Agreed. So I think it also goes down to the game you're playing. If you're playing a one shot, you might as well go ahead and nix the role play or something like that, and go more for the number cruncher, because it's that one shot game. You're trying to beat the level in essence, right? And it's not a heavy lot of role play. It's more of like, hey, let's see how far into the dungeon we can get, if we can beat it or if we can't. Now, if you're playing a campaign, it's heavy role play, I think, or way more inclined. And I think another deal is it's starting at level 1 or 2 or 3, depending on that level. Your character evolves. Your character becomes more and more you.
It's really, really fun. If you've never played, the idea of it can kind of seem off-putting because you just think it's kind of nerdy or whatever. But it's so, you get so invested into your character.
Like you start a company,
right? Like starting a company. But no, you get so invested into your character because as the story progresses of what you're doing and creating.
Speaking of invested, see that world map there?
Oh yeah,
that's my world map.
That's his personal world map that he created. But it gets to the point where you, as soon as that session is over, whatever D&D role-playing game session is over, and you gotta wait X amount of days or weeks for the next get-together, you're already like, okay, well this happened and this happened to me, and I want this to happen. It's just, there's just so much that can go into it, and it gets really. It just gets really fun because you get so invested and you want to succeed. Yeah.
So, whatever it is, whatever you're gonna play stats or role playing. Talk to your DM or your GM. Figure out what kind of game they're running, so you guys are on the same page. Have a session 0, which is a whole other topic. We're gonna talk about that separately in its own little happy world and the importance of a session 0 and all that good stuff. But now we're gonna go on to finding inspiration in characters. If you could, now let's talk about your current character. Okay.
My current character?
Yeah, Myth, right?
Myth, yeah. So in the game that I'm currently in, I play a tiefling druid, which is really odd in itself. For those of you who don't really know what that means exactly, a druid is supposed to be somebody like one with nature and like very, tree hugger and peace on earth and that kind of thing. That's kind of what it's supposed to be, but at the same time, my race, quote unquote, is a tiefling, which is like a demonic almost.
Yeah, demon blood.
Demon blood.
Yeah, some kind of ancestry.
So it's two ends of the spectrum of where I should be and for what I am. So with mine, my inspiration came with the backstory that I built around my character, to where I never got to finish my original character campaign whenever I was in your game. So I kind of took that and reworked it into my newest one now. So
you found some inspiration in your new character from an old character.
From an old character that I didn't get to finish.
Nice.
Yes, because I kind of wanted to keep going, which is the whole reason why I continued the druid
closure.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just why I went with that, and it just so happens that I didn't get with my GM as much as I should have, but it turned out perfectly because my GM's campaign story. It's a custom story. It's not a standard story that you can buy or whatever. He kind of created it. It goes perfect with what is kind of going on, which I can't spoil the whole details of it because I don't know much about it yet. Because we're still pretty early in the game. There's still a lot to go.
So to give another example of that.
Also, hey Trevin, thanks for joining us.
Your fingers. To give another example of that, we have his GM is a player in my game, and he plays a dragonborn fighter named Dyla, and her inspiration is I don't know if you really had any inspiration behind it, but I know that we've developed that character to such a crazy, interesting character. At least I'm actually as I'm developing the story and stuff like that, I'm interested in what's going to happen to this character, because as much as I know, I don't have a clue what's going to happen when it comes out of those dice. And that's another thing with this game. It comes out of the dice.
It comes down to the dice. The roll of the dice. That's the whole purpose.
Some of the the other ways you can find inspiration, and I think it's super important before you roll stats or even come up with a name, if you find the inspiration behind your character. So like you can get inspiration from movie, game, anime, or art, right?
Or even back to personality, how I was talking about. Let's say you're kind of a bookworm or something, you know, or you know you're kind of seclusive. You don't really go out a lot.
Introvert.
Yeah, an introvert, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, if you like spending time at home, then that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But that's the purpose of a fantasy game. In game, you can be whatever you want.
Who's the one guy that was in the wheelchair?
Yeah, in our session, we did have a guy who is handicapped pretty heavily. He's wheelchair bound. His name is Jamie Andrews. He's a great guy. He has, what does he have? He has Tourette's and something else. I'm not sure. But anyways, he can't walk. But you know, being in a fantasy game, we had him as he wanted to be a barbarian, which is kind of sort of like the whole opposite of what he's limited to. You know, he wanted to be somebody who could literally run around and just hack and slash everything just out of pure rage.
Yeah.
You know, which is exactly what he did in game when he was still around. Unfortunately, he had to drop out due to complications with the schedule, but that's the beauty of it, you know, because he had fun. You know, he can't be that person, but in the fantasy world he can, and
so
it was.
He kind of found inspiration
from his own shortcomings, or you know, I kind of that might be a bad way to put it. Shortcomings. It's not his fault, but
no worries.
But essentially, yeah, that's what he wanted. You know, that's what he wanted to do. He could have been something similar to a wizard or something, you know, but no, he wanted to do something free. In a sense, you know, because there was multiple times because he was a gnome barbarian,
which is awesome.
Yeah, you know, because these gnomes are like 2 foot nothing, you know, and when he was with us, we had this a catapult. I guess we have another dragonborn in our session who's 7 feet tall, has a lot of strength, so our dragonborn would just take him and literally just catapult him into the fight with him swinging and stuff, you know, and it was great. So that's where he found inspiration.
Yep.
So you can literally find it just in anywhere, and all kinds of things.
So you gotta find it to make a good character, right?
Yeah, you do. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you're gonna be in a game that's supposed to be just a quick game, just a level beating kind of thing, then yeah, you can just roll a pretty standard character just for the sake of rolling one. But if you're gonna commit, if you're gonna be in a game with a DM and a campaign and everything, do something that you're gonna enjoy.
Yeah,
you
for
know?
sure. If you don't enjoy it, you won't do it.
If you don't enjoy it, you're going to drop out. You will. You're not going to continue it.
Yep.
And you don't have to have a standard set. Like every campaign needs to have this or this or this. I mean, yeah, I guess that is true in some sense, but
always.
You know, create the character that you're going to have fun with, and then talk to your GM, see where that puts you and where you fit, and just kind of go off of that. So that's kind of the best thing, in my opinion, that you can just literally do kind of whatever.
Sorry, need another brisket. Okay, so I think that's good. We've nailed that one, yeah? I think we've really talked about that.
Yeah,
pretty good.
Absolutely.
I mean, realistically, I think we've really hit it. So let's talk about more thinking of your character in depth. What do you think? Give me the first 3 words that you think that would be, if you had to define your character in 3 words, 3 separate words, not a sentence, what would you say as myth, as your druid?
As my druid specifically, yeah, I mean, for me, I'm not going to say vengeful, but almost vengeful. Honest and true.
Honest and true?
Yeah, I guess you can kind of say that. That's kind of my thing. Because again, that plays back on the backstory that I kind of created for my character.
Yeah.
You know, to kind of put it in a summary, it was basically, you know, I got screwed long ago by something, and now I'm out to figure out WTF happened. That kind of stuff, you know.
Okay, so I kind of wrote things down. I think when you're thinking of your character in depth,
Hey, Brandon, thanks for joining.
Hey, Brandon Ringo. Hello, sir. when you want to make a good character, and this is me, so I mean there's 1,000 ways to do it, so bear with me. Number one, I think you should, what makes them different, what is their history, and where do they come from. Number one, you can't have a history without a start, right? You gotta come from somewhere. You gotta have a history, you gotta have a background. You ain't a newborn baby, right? You gotta have some type of background up to, from age 1 to age 43, 27, 36, whatever you are, 736, whatever it is, you gotta have a history, right? And then going backwards here, what makes them different? Okay, so your character, it's your character, it's yours. You have to give them something, even if it's just a small character tick. You know what I mean? That they have, you know, that's the bond, flaws, and mine's going blank. Gosh darn it. Get back to it. There's three of the things you make. There's the personality traits, bonds, flaws, and you know what I'm talking about. And that's what I'm saying. That makes your character different. But I think if you start with such a simple thing of what makes them different, what makes myth different?
As far as what makes him different compared to the rest of our cast, I guess you can call him.
I wouldn't say that. I would say what stands him out. If he was in a crowd, other than being a tiefling, let's say
that alone.
Let's say a fantasy world. You know what I mean? What makes him different? If I was walking, how would I notice myth?
So my character has this feature, is what it's technically what it is. And my feature is because of not only my looks, because that comes from my race being a tiefling, but just kind of like the presence that I give off. The feature is called All Eyes on You, which I'm sure you're familiar with, which is basically you're very, just, you kind of stand out alone just because of the presence that I give off, and for what I'm trying to accomplish, I'm very, almost off-putting in a sense.
Standoffish?
Yeah. I seem to be standoffish, but I'm not. Excuse us.
Carry on.
Yeah. But yeah, what a lot of people don't really understand or maybe not realize is how much goes into creating a character, because you don't just make a name or your race and your class. You go as far as creating, I mean literally you're creating a person in the fantasy world, from their personality, how they act, how they would act in a certain situation, and you would have to play off of that. Not how you personally, as the person playing them, would react to whatever happened, but how they would. So it's as far as from creating the name, creating the personality, creating the flaws. What would set them off? What would make them sad? What would make them happy? You have to play off of that, not what you would want to do, but what they would want to do.
It's so hard.
It is really hard to do.
Character knowledge.
Yeah, it is really hard to do, because there's times where something will happen and you're like, okay, I want to do this, but then you have to try your best, but you have to remember, is that really what your character would have done? Would your character have gone that far, or maybe you were right. Maybe he or she would have done the same thing that you would have done. But that's one thing that's really difficult, because of how intricate making a character can really be. You know, because that's where it all starts. You know, it all begins at the character. And
your character's gonna be as interesting as you want it to be. And I'm not saying you have to like try to blow it out of the park and like try to make everyone look like crap or anything like that. I'm saying like your character's gonna be as interesting as you want them to be. Now, does everyone need to know everything interesting about your character? No. I think your DM or GM does, but not necessarily everyone on the table. Now, you can give them the physical characteristics and stuff like that, or any interesting physical characteristics that may be changing, and things of that nature. But as far as taking the show, I think you gotta be careful with that stuff. You know, I mean, it's okay to have an interesting character, but not to the point to where you're like, oh well, yeah, screw you guys. My character that happened to my character too. You know, that's not okay. Well, we won't talk about your character history because it'll ruin anything for any of your stuff.
Yeah.
Hey,
Dennis, thanks for joining, man.
Dennis Crowley.
Long time no talk, sir.
Yes, sir. That's a creepy way.
Well, you're creepy, so. Point name.
Okay. Anyway. Okay, so there's some important questions to ask yourself when you're making a character. I think when you're starting, you put that first pen to that piece of paper. These are my questions. Okay. If I saw, and this is kind of carry off of the last kind of statement I asked you, I said, if I picked up your character in a crowd, I said, if I saw your own character, if you saw your own character, what would be your first impression?
For me, it'd almost be almost fearful.
Fearful?
Yeah, almost fearful.
Why?
Well, like I've already gone before. Two main aspects. Number one is the feature that I have, which is all eyes on you. What that basically entails is there's a lot of attention on me at all times. So if something were to happen around my character, all the attention would be directly on me all the time, and that can be very beneficial depending on what's going on or what I need to get done. But also just for my race.
That's your background trait, right?
Yes. Yeah. That's my background trait. Yes.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does your character need the most? Not food or water, but like separate from that, within reason.
Mine typically, realistically more so. My character, I'm in the middle of like an amnesia battle, so I don't remember much of anything.
Reminds me of Futurama.
Yeah, I don't remember much of anything, so I'm trying to piece together what's kind of going. Like when I in our campaign, in our story, when I quote unquote came to, I had some general information about myself. I knew what I was and who I was and stuff, but not why. From my memories, I was supposed to be a dark elf druid,
Right.
And now I'm a tiefling. Now it's trying to figure out WTF, and it's kind of one of those things where like I have like flashbacks and it's just like blurred and slight images.
Have you seen a new Critical Role?
I've not.
With look up Molly Muck in his background, because it's crazy. You haven't seen it,
no.
So it's like smacking of that. You know what I mean?
Oh really?
And it just like.
Yeah.
Never mind.
So, but anyways, that's kind of what I did. So based off of that, I think what my character needs the most is, I guess, knowledge, information, and so that's kind of what I'm out to figure out.
Gotcha.
But based off the little knowledge that I do know, I'm kind of out for. My character is really complicated because of this.
Makes him interesting.
Right. Yeah, it's really complicated because I'm out for vengeance, but because of my class being a druid of the land, I'm not supposed to be like that.
Right.
So I'm very self-conflicted all the time, and it's like an internal battle constantly.
Well, that makes such a good character. It's palpable. You can almost feel it, because it's like you're sitting there and you're like on the table and you're like, I want it, and you gotta sit there and think. You gotta sit there and go, would my character do that? Would they really do that? Okay, and always roll a dice, man. If you're conflicted
I've done that. I haven't done that a whole lot. I've been pretty good about it, but there have been a few times where I needed to make a decision and I'm not really sure how to make it. So I just, classic roll the die. I roll a d20, and if it's, 11 to 20, I do this. If it's if it's 1 to 10, I do this.
Yeah.
And I go for that.
Kind of depending on like how I'm leaning or how I think my character would do. If I'm like 75-25, I'll roll. I'll be like, okay, well, my character might do this. He might do this. You know what I mean? There's an odd chance, and I feel like he would do it. So let me roll a percentile. I think there's a 20%. I think there's a 5% chance he might do this, and I'll just roll it on the table. Just be like, no, I'll do this. And just to see, because like to me, I'm like the dice on this game make everything so much more random.
Yep.
Can't tell you how many times. It's like the whole deal with the soul crystals in my game. They originally had no intention of being able to suck a soul into them until Damon Crowley was like, hey, I'm gonna shove this in this thing, and I was like, well, hell, I hadn't got that far. He's like, well, let's go suck the soul in. I'm like, well, I don't know. Let me find out. I rolled it, and I gave it a pretty odd chance. And I was like, I didn't really want it to happen, and so I was like, I'm going to give him a chance. So I gave it like a 70-30. And sure enough, man, it rolled over the 30, and I was like, yeah, man, suck souls now. And so that changed my entire story. And then those soul crystals can actually house souls and everything like that, not just original. And so basically, all you gotta do is like, hey, buddy, there goes your soul. It's in the crystal now, kind of a thing, you know. So keep going, carrying on. So does your character have family?
Not anymore.
Okay, so they're dead.
Not anymore. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Did, but not anymore.
Okay, and lastly,
That's like as little as I know.
right, interesting items.
I do.
Not magic items or not the general items, but like knickknacks, things that they would just nothing story flavor.
As far as that goes, it is an item in game that can be used by a lot of casters. But the thing with me is luckily my DM, Lucas, he made it into a side quest for me to kind of sort of tie it a little bit more into my story. But I just recently created more so ritually a druidic totem. So that's kind of my thing. It's
but so you earned that.
Yes, I earned that.
Now I'm talking about when you're creating a character.
As far as creating my character,
like just like a bone tooth necklace, or like maybe a
no,
wristband.
I didn't. No, I don't have anything.
Okay.
Strictly because in our storyline, I woke up in prison.
Oh, that's fair.
So because I woke up in a prison, I didn't have anything other than like a loincloth. You know.
Gotcha.
So I don't add it, and then that's literally where my story started.
Gotcha.
So no, I don't personally, unfortunately.
No worries. So the reason why I bring those items up, those are really good tools for your DM to use as catapults to or catalysts to help you push your story, help you build your story, help your story grow. But you want to be involved in the game. You don't want to be the guy who's sitting in the back going, rolling D20 every once in a while just because that's what you do. You want to be involved, and even just a small way. You can give your DM such a latch by adding family, adding interesting items to your character, and it could be something as small as a bonsai tree that you got from your second cousin twice removed because they said, hey man, here's a bonsai tree. For all you know, that could be some crazy outline that the DM just runs with, or that some dice roll happens to just take off with. It's the most insane thing running role-play games. And then the first impression is, it's like, I think people should visualize their character. It's like, if I said, what's my first impression of me, you'd probably be like this ugly white guy who's got a beard, who talks too damn much. You know what I mean? And that's probably what you would say. But that's what you think you need to look like. You need to go, okay, what's my first impression of my character if I'm outside looking in? And that's hard to do as well.
It's kind of like when you're reading a book and you have like this visual representation of who you're reading about, and then they come out with some movie and it totally fucks your image of who that is. And it's forever ruined.
It's so true.
God.
And that one got to laugh.
Well, it's the truth. I mean, come on. I mean, same thing with bands. That's another thing with bands. You listen to this band for a long time. You don't really know what they look like. A lot of people do that. A lot of people know. And then you actually see these people live, or like in a YouTube video or something. It's like the voice doesn't match.
Yeah. Right.
Same thing. You have to visualize who you're creating.
Okay. So we've been going for right around 40 minutes. Been pretty good. So now that's all finished. You've kind of thought out your process with your character and everything like that. But what's next? Okay, so and again, we're not going to get into the stat part too much. We're going to kind of briefly hit it because I feel like there's so many online tools and things of that nature and all of that, that you could just butcher if you want to. So you're going to make your stat rolls fit. What I mean by that is people are going to hate this.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people. This is a very argumentative topic.
Yes. So when I have my players roll dice, I do 46, drop the lowest. The odds are you may have a low stat, but nothing too ridiculous, right? You're gonna have maybe an 8 or a 9, but you're probably not gonna have a 3. Which is like, I don't want I personally do not want hey Terry. I personally don't want my players to have a freaking 3 on a stat roll because I'm like, that really sucks. But we can really make a character at a really low stat.
Sure.
Because it's like they always
And
fumble
for those who don't really realize or know what we're talking about, when we mean by stats, we mean like you're rolling dice.
Wait, I got this.
What?
Strength. Can you throw a tomato? Dexterity. Can you catch a tomato? Constitution. How fast can you eat a tomato? Intelligence. Knowing that tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing not to put a tomato in a fruit salad. Charisma. Can you sell a tomato?
That's pretty much what it is. You have different stats, like he was saying. You got wisdom, constitution, strength, so on and so forth. And it's a matter of rolling these numbers that will determine how good you are at these specific things.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a high, like for me, for example, I have a really low strength. Well, not super low, but I have a relatively low strength, but an extremely high.
What is your strength score?
With 12, so I have a +1.
Well, it's above average.
It's above average, but like well, I say it's low because compared to the rest of my team.
Yeah.
You know, but like I have an extremely high wisdom on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when it comes to anything wisdom related, I got it made.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and it's also the kind of the opposite when it comes to like the barbarian that we were talking about. His strength and constitution was through the roof.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but he was dumb as a rock. You know, he didn't know what was what. All he knew how to eat, shit, sleep, and fight, and that's it.
Yeah. So that being said, rolling stats is a very crucial part. So there's many ways you can do it. I recently had a player, and it was all him, man. I didn't say nothing. He said, I'm going to do it like this. So I saw it done, and I was going to try it, see what happens. He went down his character sheet. He just rolled sixes and dropped the lowest. You know what I mean? 46, and just went straight strength, dex, con, intelligence, wisdom, charisma. That was his character off the stats. And it was the craziest thing I've seen, but I mean, he had a character, and it was a one-shot, so it was no big deal, but he was like, I just want to try it, see what happens. And it was a fun game and everything like that. We had a blast. But, you know, that something to be said is making a character based off the stat rolls. Roll your stats first and see what happens. And then create your character off the stats. I think that's the way to possibly do it.
That's another way you could do it. That's a very vague way you can do it. I think that would only work best in that specific situation if you're only going to do like a one-time play.
Yeah.
Or maybe if you're not going to be playing a whole lot.
Or start with those dice rolls.
Or, yeah.
As like that's the first thing you do.
Yeah.
I roll my stats that I'm going to build.
For those who didn't quite follow, basically, before you get around to even creating your character, you can go ahead and roll for these numbers to see what you get. And depending on those numbers, you can then create a character based off of that. So let's say you roll something and you get something with really high strength. So then that could maybe, you can make something relative that could work well off of that, like a warrior or a barbarian or...
You wouldn't have the barbarian with the -3 strength.
Right.
Yeah. I want to make a barbarian.
And then roll your stats, and you get crappy strength. That just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It just doesn't.
Yeah, it's a whole lot of making sure that you make your character make sense.
Yeah. So that's something you could do. I don't know. I mean, that's very odd.
Oh, it was very odd.
The fact that somebody even attempted that.
It worked.
In general, I mean.
But you know what's crazy is it almost forced him to like try to come up with interesting ways to boost his stats. And like
you're not wrong. I mean, that's one way to do it.
Yeah, and like to figure out how he was going to make it all work. And then he rolled a cleric because his stats were this was going to work for a cleric stats.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or a cleric or whatever other it was. You know what I mean? He was like, well, it's between this and this. You know, I was like, well, that's your choice, man. Whatever you want to roll.
I mean, whatever you want to do, I guess you can just do it off of that.
For sure.
But those are a lot of really good starting points and a little bit of information on what it takes to create a character and kind of what goes into it. I mean, you know, the world is your oyster. You're limited to your imagination.
And the DM's rule.
This is true. There's rules and everything, but the final decision falls on your DM.
Yeah. And if they're a fair DM,
they're not gonna
screw you.
Yeah,
they're going to have fun too.
You know, and again, the whole point of this entire game is to have fun. So if you have a DM who isn't fair and who's kind of a d-bag, I don't think you should be playing for that guy anyway.
Go run your own game.
Yeah, go run your own game. Run your own DM. Blackjack.
Be your own DM.
Be your own DM. Blackjack and hookers.
Blow. You forgot to blow.
No, that's not simple.
I don't like cocaine. I just like it smells. Okay, so after that, find a background that fits your character. The worst thing I've ever seen is the guy who's landlocked. He was born from a landlocked country or landlocked freaking area, and somehow he has a sailor background.
Yeah. I mean, that technically, if you're talking about fantasy, I guess, whatever, you know. But that would be a DM thing,
No.
you know. You know, as a DM, he's immediately like, no, shoot it down. That's not right. And I agree. I agree with you.
I'm all for like the character being imaginative and like I want to go be the flying unicorn that fucks apples. Cool, let's roll with it and see what happens. I'm all down for that. But like, I'm not okay for like logical fallacies. Like I'm going, that just doesn't make sense. Like, if the game doesn't make somewhat sense, now if you said, okay, well, I wasn't born there, but I was raised there, but at the same time I'm going, okay, but still, how would you be a sailor as a background? It doesn't matter if you were born by the ocean, unless you're telling me that some freaking fantasy god was like, oh, hey, by the way, I'm blessing you with all the history of some sailor. You know what I mean? Okay, maybe I can make that work, but there's probably going to be some fucked up repercussions.
Yeah. I mean, he's not wrong. You have to make it work. You can't. I mean, you could try, but it won't work.
You can always try.
You can always try, but it's got to make sense, at least somewhat. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's plenty out there that are really complicated. I mean, mine is pretty complicated in itself.
I mean, more of the actual background.
No, but yeah. I mean, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, you can't.
No,
you can't be a wizard in a DM world that has no magic. You know?
Yeah. But, you know, like, say you're the paladin with a criminal background and you're a goody two-shoes. You know, that just doesn't make sense
at all.
Like,
you know, paladins are supposed to be holy crusaders. And,
well, I'm not saying you can't make it happen. I'm just saying, like, you can't be a goody two-shoes with a criminal background. I'm sorry, like, in my
I don't know, you're gonna be triggering some people.
Yeah.
They're reformed, okay?
That's fine. That's cool. You be reformed, but to me, I'm going, listen, man, you still have a criminal background. You have this, if you're going to be a criminal background, you need to be a little bit shady in some instances. And I'm not saying being shady. I'm saying like, and you're over there like, listen, guys, I know we need to pick this lock. We're not going to do it. I can do it. Just don't talk about it.
I have a history of being able to do this.
I don't like talking about it, but for this scenario, because I don't feel like it's going against my oath, I can do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something like that. That would be cool. That's more of a character like, you know, movement. Not like, well, I'm a paladin and I want to be a criminal, but I don't want to be all holy avenger.
You know, and this, I mean, it's just it can get kind of frustrating keeping up with all of this. That also goes back to playing off your character, not off you, off your character.
Yeah.
You know, just because you know that your character has a criminal background, would your character really do it?
Yeah.
Would your character be willing to make that a known information to the rest of the crew? You know?
Maybe so.
You know, maybe they don't want the rest of their crew to know that they have that kind of background. You know,
that's fair.
Yeah, and so you have to play off of that.
Yeah, that's a good argument there. So, also, the cool thing about backgrounds is they're like one of the easiest things in freaking 5th edition or D&D to like manipulate or make custom. So if you had an idea or something doesn't fit like your thought or your mantra or whatever you want to say, it doesn't fit it.
You can make it fit.
You can make it fit, or the DM should be able to make it fit. That's one of the easiest things to customize without breaking a game.
Yeah, and most DMs should, like you said, should be able to fit you into the storyline to make it a very cohesive story without it breaking your original thought for the character.
Yes.
You know, the DM shouldn't remake your character for you. You know, they're going to try and keep it to the original, what you kind of want them to be, but they're just going to kind of change some aspects of it to make it fit for everything else.
Yeah, and you know, you also got to remember another important thing is this: if you're asking the DM for stuff, like say, hey, can you work with me? You also need to work with your DM. Because if you don't, man, it's like, why would he work with you, or he or she will work with you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a give and take.
Yeah.
It really is. It's a give and take. You can't expect the DM to just submit to all of your demands, or to change the entire game and campaign that can potentially run for 2 freaking years just for you. You know, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't expect that. You have to meet in the middle.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. There's some things that the DM will give you. You know, like, yeah, sure, I'll give it to you.
Well, let's use Chris for example. Chris really wanted to play the machinist character,
Right.
and I was like, you know, I didn't read super deep into like every detail. I kind of read the background and everything like that. It was kind of like and I have some mechanical aspects to my world and stuff like that, some steampunky aspects.
Sure.
So I was like, oh heck yeah, this could work. You know, let's sell it. And then later on, it was like it just became something that I didn't realize. And I was like, hey Chris,
You didn't catch it.
you know, we gotta revamp this, man. Let's look at this again and like.
Let's pull the reins a little bit, bring it back.
And he was like, well, that's cool, man, no worries. He was like, hey, but I've kind of been thinking about just going Ranger, because something happened in his story, and like it was just involved that way, and it worked really well. And like I said, if you tell a good story, you tell a good thing, then it works out, I promise you. And he was cool with it, and I was cool with it, so we ended up revamping his stuff, and it's actually working out even better now.
For him?
No, for the story.
Oh, good. Even better.
Yeah, because he went to the portal Ranger or whatever it is. I can't think of the name of it.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that one is, and so it really works with my world and everything like that. But that being said, I think, you know, just working with the DM and everything like that. So okay, so after all it's done, you gotta come up with a name to fit your character.
You do. You gotta come up with a name.
The all important, right?
all inclusive, all important name.
You can be Armando or Hobie, but you're already that. Well, you're not. I am, and he is. Those are our names.
Mine comes from. I mean, my character's name is Myth.
Yeah.
Mine comes from the
Wow.
original World of Warcraft days back in college in Irving, when we were all over there, and I created a druid in that game. I named it Myth. That's where mine came from.
Yeah.
Mine's kind of a long-running thing for me.
If you're not good at coming up with names, if you really need help, there's generators.
Generators all over the internet. Just Google D&D name generator.
Fantasy generator.
Fantasy generator. I mean, there's all kinds of generators that you can come up with.
Yeah.
And
I think there's one I love. It's like the first one to come up. You type in fantasy generators, it is like the first one that comes up. Yet thing's got generators for like any type of name you want, man. It's like, it's the greatest thing in the world, and I have used the crap out of it. And I would like to tell those people thank you, and I will probably go find them and personally tag them in this thanking video and say, you guys are awesome.
Yeah, and you know, a name can come from anything that you enjoy. I mean, just like Ashley said there, I mean, she got kind of a name from a movie reference, Evil Dead, which
it's a he.
He is fine, but I'm just saying, regardless, you can come up with a name from just about anything that you like.
Yeah.
I guess names don't necessarily have to fit.
They don't have to.
But it helps.
There's an importance to a name. You know,
it'll help.
If you don't want to be called Rumpelstiltskin the Third, twice removed from my cousin's
No, I mean, that's more of a title than a name.
That's the point. You want something that's going to fit, cohesive. You don't want to be known. You don't want the name that's this long that no one can pronounce.
Yeah, like my full name.
Yeah, like he says it. Say it again.
Adrian Armando Beltrán Dominguez. Rolls off the tongue, man.
Like sugar. Okay, so the very last thing, I think it is important to write a half-page, 2-page, depending on how you write and everything like that. You know what I mean? Just kind of a synopsis of. Well, she's a dude.
Well, she's a dude, so.
This is synopsis of your character, and this is more for you to reference back to, or your DM to reference back to, and this is like your original thoughts that you want your character to direct to. Like, so if you're going from 1 to 20, where you see your character at 5, level 10, level 15, and level 20, where you see that character. Now, that's not going to happen. Take that in mind. But it's where you.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a point. Being able to say the name
that
you create.
Yeah.
You have to be able to say it. That's fair.
To be fair, people can't say Hobie a lot of times.
This is true.
Hobby?
Hobby?
And that's something you want to do on the weekend, unless you're a chick.
Yeah, man, that's questionable.
Yeah, I know. I'm not being cool. Sorry, guys. So, I mean, that's really all I got, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've covered, for the most part, pretty much all the bases. There's not much else to go off of, I don't think.
Okay. So, now for my question. If you would like to win this lovely Muck class set, here's your question. Name the 12 classes in D&D in order, alphabetically, in the comments of this post. The first one to do so will win this class set.
Again, this is a $65 value for free. You're going to get 4 awesome items custom made by D Dungeon Games. You're going to get the, kind of go over this one more time before we sign off here. You're going to be getting the dice box meant to hold some of your dice. Pretty neat. This is a monk class set, so it will say monk on the front with the class emblem, which is a fist. You're also going to get a free coaster to go with it. Pretty neat. You can't really tell maybe because of the lighting, but this is orange. You're going to be getting the dice tower to be able to roll your dice. You toss your dice in, they come out the front. It's got a cool monk design on the back, also from DDG. And then lastly, you're going to be getting a token folder for any kind of tokens that you may get or use in your game. Status elements.
No, we sell them all. Dude. Crazy.
Yeah. I mean, we can provide all of these things through DDG, but you're going to be getting a $65 value for free. First person to answer the question in the comments below.
Yep. I think that was a pretty good one for the very first question. So, also, this is kind of trying to be a regular Wednesday thing for us. We're going to call it a Wednesday Side Quests. So we appreciate you tuning in, sharing the vids, all that good stuff. We're going to put these on YouTube. So that way we can maybe get some ringlets and more support for the company / just in the community in general. Armando may not be here very often. He may be able to Skype in here and there. So I'm going to try to use other guys from... yes, it has to be in alphabetical. It has to be in alphabetical order. So good luck, because I can name them off the top of my head right now in alphabetical, because I have issues. So, join us in the videos. Come and join the community. Kind of hang out with us. We're going to do this. Chris wasn't able to make it tonight. Armando was very funny. Oh, wow, I'm tough. Sorry. Armando was lucky enough to be here. He lives 2 hours from me, so he was just here for the weekend, helping me out, getting ready for this next con. Oh, by the way, Amicon.
Shameless plug incoming.
No, I don't even care. I'm talking shameless. I'm all proud of it. This is our second year, man. We've made it a year.
Full year. Amicon coming up on the 4th and the 5th of August. Hubby won't be there, but I'll be there. I'll be running the stand for DDG.
I'll be there Sunday.
Come see us. Come hang out. You don't have to spend some money, although it's very great if you do. But you can come see us. Come check out the con. There's going to be a lot of activities, a lot of people there, a lot of vendors, different types. Artists, fantasy, I mean, all sorts of stuff. If you've never been to a con, I definitely recommend it.
Yeah.
It's not just for the nerds. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff that goes on there.
There's a lot of cool just stuff
in general that you can buy.
Yeah,
it's a lot of neat gifts that you can get and everything.
Not have Christmas in, August?
Yeah, I mean, now's the time to start. But again, that's going to be on August 4th on Saturday and on August 5th.
Yep.
That's a Sunday.
Let's go ahead and go through a little bit more. So we're thinking at August 24th, 25th, 26th, Hub City Con in Lubbock.
We'll also be there.
Early November is Tulsa.
We're not telling everybody to make the drive, but if you happen to be in Tulsa, come hang out. That's going to be the biggest con that D Dungeon Games has been graceful enough to attend and to be a vendor at. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
This is our 5th con now. This Amicon.
Amicon will be our 5th. This is going to be our 2nd year at Amicon.
Yeah.
It's really great, too, because there's a lot of people in Amarillo and in Lubbock and the surrounding areas who know us by name now. So, I mean, we're not expecting to blow up overnight, but people are starting to recognize.
Yep.
And that's great. I mean, we sell great products. We have a lot of fun. We play games. We hold contests. We hold giveaways.
I drive him like slave cattle.
He tries to drive like slave cattle. But yeah, it's gonna be really fun. I don't know the specifics just yet of our booth or anything. If I did, I would totally give it to you at the moment. I mean, I'm sure I have it. I just gotta look it up.
Where we're gonna be?
Yeah, where we're gonna be.
They haven't seen it yet.
Okay, so I mean, I don't know exactly where we're gonna be, but I know we'll be around there. We'll have our big, huge banner, Deep Dungeon Games.
Mm-hmm.
So.
We didn't forget to take that down.
True.
Yeah. Also, we have 2 Kickstarters coming on right now. Time meow. We have the currently we have the deck 3 of Magical Mystery, which is the 3rd in a series of Kickstarters that me and Levi Clark over there at Session 0 have been doing. If you haven't been able to check it out, man, we got a great artist. Levi's been knocking out some of the major descriptions and then organizing the cards and stuff like that. He's doing a great, awesome job of doing that. I'm coming up with a lot of the background, and some of the backers are even coming up with some of the backgrounds for the items. It's a really cool deck of magical items. We're going to roll this into a series of 4, but we have to get number 3 done before we can start 4 because it's a whole process, you know what I mean? And instead of trying to do a $30,000 Kickstarter, we're trying to break it up into, several different ones. So that way we're not, like everyone's like, oh, we can't back this new guy or this new company. We're trying to prove that we got our, Levi's a great dude. Yeah, me and Levi, we talk like every day. And we just chit chat for, sometimes for hours, sometimes for just a couple messages a day. But there's not many days we don't go without chit chatting. So he's over there in Florida. I'm over here in Texas. 2 dudes that just happen to find each other, and we're working great together. So we're looking forward to keep working with that guy. Hopefully I'll get him over here in Texas to kill him forever and ever. Anyways, there's that Kickstarter, and then there's the status sticker Kickstarter that is in my name. It's the Deep Dungeon Games Kickstarter. It's more just for kind of flavor or whatever. But my thought was that instead of messing up a mini or something like that, you can just throw a sticker on a guy or girl and say, hey, this is what you are, and then everyone on the table kind of knows. It's more fun, haha, and decorative or whatever. But number 1, stickers are awesome. Number 2, stickers are awesome. And number 3, I think it'd actually be beneficial at your game. So check that out. And
also, stay tuned. We're in the works of a new game coming out, new card game. We have tested the alpha of it. I guess there's still some tweaks that need to be done. And some spell checking, but I think it's going to be really fun. We played a couple of rounds. They don't last too long, depending on how many people. Around 20 minutes, roughly, if that. Honestly, they can be consistently shorter. It's all roll the dice.
Yeah,
it's a roll the dice.
It's a dice / card game.
A lot of categories involved in it, but without giving too much away, stay tuned for that. Follow us on social media. Check out our Twitter and all that jazz that we got. So we should hopefully that'll be rolling out in the next hopefully
I'm thinking October,
I would say
November.
Q4 for sure of this year. We'll be rolling that out, and depending on how successful that Kickstarter will be.
We got so much stuff in the works.
Yeah, I mean we have a lot of stuff in the works, but depending on how well that one works, there's going to be quite a few expansions to.
We'll see how it goes.
To the game, and we'll see. We'll kind of go from there.
Our second game.
Right.
So thank you for joining us on our Wednesday night side quests. This is Hobie Hill, Deep Dungeon Games. This is
Adrian Armando Beltran Dominguez, also known as Mondo from DDG. Thank you guys again for watching.
You'll have a good night, guys. Take care, and see y'all next time.